of Kanifing, the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the General Council, and the advisor to the mayor on youth affairs. He's also the national youth leader of the United Democratic Party, the main opposition party of the Gambia. Kemo is a 2017 yearly RLC Fellow and a 2019 Mandela Washington Fellow in the Public Management track at the University of Davis, California. It's always a pleasure to have you, sir. You're welcome. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Hi, good afternoon from my end and good evening to everyone here, because I believe Nigeria is an hour ahead of the Gambia. I'm not sure if everybody is hearing me, but if you are, kindly make it known. So I set up everything. Am I being heard?
Yes, you're being heard, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay. Yes. So I'd just like to say a big thank you to all of you. This is not my first time being here, and it has always been a pleasure to play a part in the development of what the young politicians, as most of us growing up within the political field never really had the same chance, because like I said earlier, or like I've always said, mentoring has always been a problem, especially in the political field. It's either godfatherism has been made in a toxic way where you have to run after older politicians or people in power to be able to give in crumbs, or you're left to fend for yourself. And unfortunately, most of the young politicians within the sub-region were left to fend for themselves and having it really tough going within the political space. I am Kemo Bojang once more from the Gambia. I'm a legislator within the Kanifing region and also the National Youth Secretary General of the UDP. Without taking much of your time, I would just like to start, if you wouldn't mind. Does everyone have access to the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, they do.
Yes. So I'll just like to make this as a very very open and a free conversation, and you can always ask questions whenever or contribute whenever you feel that you have something to say. But before we start, I'd like to know the definition of leadership, maybe from 2 or 3 people. And like I always say, leadership is a relative concept. So what it means for one person might not be what it means for another person. So can anybody help with the definition of leadership, please? Hello? Guys, you guys cannot be politicians and be shy. Can anybody help with the definition of leadership, please?
All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, dear trainer. My name is Olatuk Motimenu. For me, I want to say leadership is the heart of being able to influence others. To carry out an action, to get a pre-planned result at the end of the day. So for me, it's an offshoot of who a leader should be, and that's being able to inspire and influence people's behaviors and people's actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other person who might want to contribute? AB, I saw your comment, but can you please unmute your mic and contribute if possible? All right. Just to go on and continue on the presentation, the topic we're discussing today is leadership more than just a concept. And a lot of times when we talk about leadership, and like I said, it's a relative concept. There's so many definitions of leadership based on how we see things, and most importantly, the environment that we come from. This discussion will be mainly based on contextualizing it in the Nigerian context and also the Gambian context, because I'm Gambian and we've had some pretty interesting leadership and political history in the past 3 decades leading to today. And also Nigeria, because there's the election fever coming on. There's a new movement coming on with the Labour Party and Peter Obi, and you've got the 2 big boys in it who are the APC and the PDP. You've also got the Kankwaswa and the NNPP. These are all parties that I think are going to do a lot. You've got other parties like the ADC and others. So I would like to contextualize the discussion so we get a better grasp of it. And like the topic says, leadership more than just a concept. Thank you for the definition. And for me, like I've defined in the PowerPoint, is that leadership is the ability of an individual or group of individuals to influence and guide followers or other members of society or organizations. And this is a concept that we have here. But how do we make it more than just a concept? Is by making sure that leadership is practicable, that leadership is in praxis. And for a long time in our own settings and our own societies, we've always had this problem where we have practicalized leadership, because a lot of leaders we've had have not been able to influence our choices, have not been able to influence our abilities as individuals, and have not been able to inspire and guide us on a true or a right path. And this has led to a lot of issues that we have faced as a people. A lot of times we say when a country is not going right, you have to look at the leadership they have, which is right. But also because of the leadership, you have to also look at the society, because leaders do not fall from the sky, but leaders come from within our people, from within society and from within us. And this is where I always try to say that there's a huge reason for there to be attitudinal change within our societies. And today, for example, you can really realize that we have these issues. But I'm glad that we're having alternatives, and we're having people, especially young people, who are coming up with the right mindset and with the abilities and with the belief that they're able to change our realities. And I like to say that there are also 5 values or core values of leadership, which for me, one is that you are able to empower people, you are able to inspire, you're able to lead change, and you're able to share your vision with them. And empowering people is making sure that you build other leaders and mentors. When I was beginning my talk, I did make mention that a lot of young leaders within our generation have really not been mentored by elder leaders because of reasons best known to them. But we must be able to create that avenue where we also take other young leaders under our wings and be able to lead them to a change that we all want. We must also be able to inspire people. A lot of times, leadership, especially in Africa, has not been very inspirational. We like to make our first generation of African leaders inspirational. But in reality, I also like to say that in as much as I admire them for what they have done for the continent, I believe that a lot of our problems we're facing today was caused by them. Why? Because they were not able to inspire their people to build nation states. For example, when you look at the story of Nigeria and its amalgamation, you look at the story of Gambia, these are man-made countries that we have been forced to live in as much as we are all in for unions, but we must be able to build systems that are reflective to the lives of the people and to the lives of the people that we are going to lead. Today, unfortunately, taking Gambia as a case study, even the political processes that we have in this country are not adequate. Why? Because it is alien to the people, and the people do not see it serving its purpose. And this has led to a lot of issues that we have had. It's the same issue you have in Mali, that the junta had to step in. It's the same issue that you have in Guinea-Conakry that the junta had to step in. It's the same issue we have in Burkina Faso, that there was someone who was trying to change that reality in Thomas Sankara, and he was assassinated, and Blaise Compaoré became president, ruled with an iron fist for so long. And today we have seen that there's a lot of political instability. What this goes back to is that we have not been able to build a system that works for us, by us. Going further also, I would like to talk about how leaders are supposed to lead change. Because the reason, for example, we have elections or we have a change of leadership is that new people are able to come in to bring in their ideas, to bring in their belief, and to also bring in their manpower. Unfortunately, for us as a continent, it has not been as favorable, and it has not been as smooth as it should be. Most of the time, it's a continuation of the bad systems that we have in place. This has led to a lot of people losing faith in the political class and the political system, leading to a lot of electoral apathy or political apathy, where people do not take part in the election processes or the democratization processes of their countries. Also, to share your vision as a leader. Every leader or every individual, be it a leader or not, has a vision. You must be able to share this vision with the people that you're with. You must be able to be a team player by empowering your members, but also sell your vision to them. The reason you stand out as a leader is that because you have a pathway, you have a vision, and you have a direction of where you want to go. But if you're not able to share this with the people in your team, then there's a huge lack within your leadership capabilities. But also, I like to also talk about politics and governance. And a lot of times, we realize that the best of politicians do not really make the best of governance. And more so, the best of governors do not also make the best of politicians. Because governance for me is administration and making sure that you're putting the right things in the right place. While as politics for me is more of strategizing and being able to market. Because I like to call politics entrepreneurship. And this is just my own basic explanation. Because I say, for example, a manifesto, or for example, a candidate is a product you're selling. The more you market them, the more sales you're going to make, or the more times you're going to have people ask about it. And how do we keep people buy your product is making sure that they vote on election day. So marketing strategies get into elections and politics, and you're able to politicize issues based on how you want it by criticizing or by being opposition or being in the ruling party, and always into damage control. But when you talk about governance, for me, is more of administration, making sure that you are doing the right things at the right time and making sure that you are solving issues. Administration for me is more of service delivery, especially when in politics or in governance. Leadership is key in politics and governance because it determines everything. Leadership determines how public affairs are conducted. Leadership determines how public resources are managed. Leadership determines how policies are designed and implemented. Leadership determines how decisions that affect the entire society are made. And leadership determines how a country relates with other countries, etc. Political leadership impacts our lives directly. There are far-reaching effects. These are far-reaching effects that are accounted for, by which leadership is something that must be clearly understood and practiced, as opposed to being viewed as an abstract concept. Back to the topic again, because of the importance it has in the life of the people, leadership cannot be seen as an abstract concept. So it's more of, like I said earlier, that it's a practical thing. It's more of praxis than a conceptualized issue. Unfortunately, a lot of people tend to see leadership and politics more of like a concept than practical. But it is up to us as the new breed of young leaders to change that and make it more of a service to the people. And I think because we've always had these misconceptions, it has made it very difficult for people to even appreciate politicians or young people to take part in politics. For example, I keep saying that we do not need new political parties, but we need new ways of politicking, is by changing the way people view leadership and politics as a whole. And, then I would also like to talk about the qualities of effective political leaders. There are different types of leaders. as young people, we must strive to be effective leaders. Then you talk about the qualities of effective political leaders, which includes the respect of the rule of law, that every political party, every country is guided by principles, is guided by laws, is guided by constitutions, that nobody is above the law, and we make sure that our conducts and the things that we do are guided by the rule of law. The people's fundamental right must be protected and guaranteed at all costs. This includes not disenfranchising the people during elections. And for example, I have had discussions with Nigerians, for example, and because I actually frequent Nigeria a lot, and especially within the young political circle, I have a huge network of, in fact, I was a guest at the APC Youth Summit last month on through the invite of the national youth leader of the APC, Dayo Israel. But I'm super close to Muhammad, the PDP youth leader, and other political parties, be it the Labour Party youth leader too, and other youth leaders. And I keep saying that the Not Too Young to Run campaign, for example, that was started in Nigeria. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it's something that we have to emulate across the continent, but also we have to force political parties to also work on laws that are favorable to young people. For example, 100 million form cannot be bought by someone under the age of 35, for example, except if these people are very, very lucky individuals to have been able to be multimillionaires at a very young age, which is highly unlikely because of the realities that we're faced with. But this is where disenfranchisement comes from. And this is where we must be able to work through intra-party level, heading into the inter-party levels and then going nationally, because these are where the disenfranchisements happen most of the time. And not just about young people, but also women, that we have seen that these two groups are more of minority groups, even if they're not in numbers minority, but when it comes to leadership, they're more of minorities because they're not very present where decisions are being made. And when we talk about policies, these policies that we make must be able to reflect the lives of these people that are directly affected by the laws that are made. Because politicians today, for example, in West Africa, majority of our politicians are older people. And you are talking about a sub-region that almost 69 to 70% of the population are young, and 51% of the population are made up of women. But unfortunately, women and young people do not really play a huge part in the decision-making processes, of their countries. You also talk about transparency and accountability. These are, once you lose your credibility as an individual or as a politician, there's not a lot that you can do because it will haunt you for life. Unfortunately, recently I've seen on the news in Nigeria that one of the youth leaders was caught up in a scandal. And it's unfortunate that, the party, I personally thought the party could have dealt with it a better way than throwing him under the bus. Yes, we must be also, in as much as we want to show we're transparent, we must also be careful not to play to the gallery. Because once you play to the gallery in politics, it's equivalent to shooting yourself in the foot, because you are not doing things that are required but that are necessary, but you're doing things because you want to please people who might not even vote for you. So political parties and institutions must be very careful of this, and it's better to deal with things internally than to deal with them in the open. Notwithstanding, transparency and accountability is very important, and as an effective leader, you must understand that your mandate was given to you by the people, and thus you are accountable to them. It is very important. For example, because we are getting into the 2023 budget season, we've already done the budgeting. So everybody had to submit their budget. In the Gambia, we have a process which is called the participatory budgeting. It's done with the IRI. What we do is representatives have conversations with their constituency on how they want their budget to be used. If it's roads that you want, your people tell you that we want roads. If it's schools that they want, they tell you they want schools. If it's hospitals and other things, they take part in the decision-making process and how the budgetary allocations are going to be done. And when we go to the House or the chamber, we discourse and we also argue based on what our people have given us. We do it annually before the budget season, and we submit these things to the clerk of council, who submits it to the Ministry of Finance. So these are ways in which accountability is also important. And another point that is important is to also always present a manifesto. And as much as manifestos can be unwritten, it is important that you present, a written manifesto. It is good for yourself as an individual to keep track of what you have promised and what you want to do, but also for people to be able to examine and say that, okay, so and so has promised that he was going to, or he or she was going to do so and so. They have done this and this and this. Because I keep saying that elections are like examinations for us as young politicians, or as politicians as a whole, and it's the only time that people have to evaluate the social contract that we signed with them. And social contracts are based on terms and conditions, and manifestos are usually the terms and conditions that determine social contracts. Because once you present a manifesto, people know that this is your vision, this is what you want to do, and in the space of 5 years, we will do so and so and so and so. It's, it helps in the process of accountability. Again, I was talking about the manifesto, but then it comes to vision and purpose. Effective leaders inspire. They have intent and vision and are able to communicate in such a way that they inspire others to buy into their vision. If you are not charismatic, if you are not inspirational as a leader, it will be very difficult for you to convince people to support you. While as actions are important, you also have to be commanding in the way you speak to people and be able to get their attention. And for me, I keep saying that today we have a lot of ways of communicating with people. We have a lot of ways of putting across our visions and purpose. And you don't always have to be a strong man or a strong woman. But today you have social media, you have other ways of communicating with people. And, I think it's important that we do this in our own ways and the ways that we think are mostly the best practices. For example, during my campaign, I wasn't as flamboyant as my rival or opposing candidate, because he had the backing of the state and had a bigger budget than I did. But my biggest campaign strategy was using the personal relationships I had with people and also the track record that I had, because I had been in community work since when I was almost at the age of 14. So it had helped me build a great network. And also we used the house-to-house campaigning strategy. Whilst they were doing more of rallies and bringing people together, we were doing more of house-to-housing and getting into people's houses, because you realize that it's the same faces going to all the rallies that you're organizing. And the majority of the voters are sitting in their houses and are listening to what you have to say. So when you reach out to them, it's easier for you to communicate and put across what you want than when it's at a rally, there's fanfare, not everybody's listening and people are just jumping and shouting. I am not saying rallies are not important. They're very, very important, because it also shows your strength as an individual. But what is most important is that leadership has to be based on a personal level too. People must be able to say that they can relate with you and you are able to listen and hear them out. So another one we are going to look at is consensus building, that you don't make these decisions on your own. It is important that you are able to empower other people who are also going to be able to provide checks and balances to you. A lot of times, and what we have seen with the crop of leaders we have in the continent or sub-region per se, for example, in my country, the Gambia, we had to go through a 22-year-old dictatorship because people couldn't tell the then president the realities because they were all afraid of him. And he made decisions without consulting cabinet. He made decisions without consulting his party members. And these were things that, didn't go well with the people. So as a leader, you must be able to build consensus with the people, your team, and be able to put across, your message. There must be a consensus of orientation between the people and their representatives. A good representative confers with the people and does not act unilaterally. Consensus building also comes to play in how alliances are forged with other stakeholders in the pursuit of collective goals. And this is something that I also want to say. For me, politics has been more of romance than fighting, because you must try to build alliances everywhere that you can, because you do not know when you're going to need them. It is important that we're able to build alliances with people who are even not within our party scope and keep very cordial relationships with them. But we must also be careful not to become or not to act in a way which is going to be different to our party's positions and our party's strengths. I've seen that a lot of times we have had those problems and it has become a problem. In other parties, for example, when you do that, your party can expel you, or your party can put you in a position which is not going to be very favorable. For example, when you are a party man through and through, you do not go against your party. Not unfortunately, but in recent elections coming up in Nigeria, I've seen parties or candidates in Party A who in turn are endorsing presidential candidates in Party B. I don't know how things work in Nigeria to that level, but in the Gambia, if you do that, you can be even stripped of your candidacy and you can be expelled from your party. So these are things that are important, but it's also important to build allies with people, not just in your country. For example, this is why I am taking the time to build relationships with other national youth leaders around the world and build relationships with people or other politicians. It just doesn't have to be within your country, but can be internationally, because you do not know when you're going to meet them or where they're going to play a part in your political circle or your political journey. Going further, you must also be a great communicator as a politician, be clear and concise, and be able to put across your points. There's one thing to talk a lot, and there's another thing to be able to put your points across. And for me, what I've realized is that we have for the longest tried to be more of, because you want to be seen in the media, you want to be seen as someone who is very strong and has this Aluta concept and Aluta mindset. But today that doesn't sell. People want to see that you have ideas. People want to see that you have, plans and policies and programs that would be able to change their lives around. For example, Thomas Sankara has said that all revolutions around the world has been based on bread. And that is the fact. Even the French Revolution was based on bread because of the high, how living costs were increasing. People want to see how you as a representative or as a politician is going to come up with policies that are going to make their lives better. They do not care today who is the most powerful. They do not care today who has the best theories. What they want to see is that you have practicable plans and policies, no matter how simplistic they are, but will be able to change the trajectory of a country. And you must be able to communicate. As said here, the communication is key to establishing mutual understanding, and effective leaders understand this. Policies, ideas, and considerations underpinning decisions should be communicated in such a way that the people understand and can support them as your vision as a leader. This includes setting up systems to get feedbacks from the people. And also, like I said, once you get, even for example, when you don't get in office, but you are a politician, it is also important to always create town hall meetings, for example, or maybe just, dialogues with your people and your constituents. It makes it better that they know that you are always there to listen to them, and don't be defensive about it. Not everybody's going to say what you want to hear, but the best about you will be that you're able to listen and tell them that you will look into it. These are things that as politicians, we must be able to listen to. Then you have responsiveness. Like I said, when they communicate, you have to respond and tell them that you are able to solve so and so problems, or you come up with solutions to so and so problems. And as a leader, being responsive is very important. For example, recently I've seen with the floods around Kogi, Anambra, and in Nigeria, I think I've heard that other political candidates have sent donations. Well, personally, I saw how my friend Dayo Israel sent 2 million naira as a donation to one of the communities. But what is also outstanding for me is to see that Peter Obi was able to visit these places. It shows responsiveness, and that he was able to take time out of his busy schedule to visit during these times of crisis for the people. It's more of responsiveness, and I hope that other candidates will also be able to do that. People know that you're not able to solve these problems, but just being there to listen to them and see how they're doing, alleviates more of their pain. And people don't want a lot. They just want someone that cares. In the end, that is what the average person just wants. And when lastly, you talk about honesty and integrity. this is also key into accountability and helps with building trust. A good leader is one whose words can be trusted. And this is very important. Like I said, as a politician, your only currency is your credibility. And once you lose it, that's it, you're done. Nobody takes you seriously. Regardless of whatever position you might hold, people will always linger this above your head. Like I said earlier, a friend of mine who's also a national youth leader of a party currently in Nigeria is currently involved in a scandal that has to do with credibility and honesty. And for me, I think it's difficult if young leaders are seen in that light, because it becomes difficult for other young people to also hold positions, because we are usually branded by the same brush, unfortunately, and painted by the same brush. And it's this affects everyone that is trying to do little things, in their own way. Notwithstanding, I think all of these need to be learning curves for all of us, and we're able to build through it. But all of the points that I've put across just makes leadership practicable, makes leadership more than just a concept, and makes leadership something that people will see value in and be able to change the lives of the people. Thank you. It's not a long presentation. It's a very short one. I like to have conversations, so I like to keep it short and listen to what people have to say, and also discuss and answer questions. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Campbell. Do we have questions? You can just indicate with a show of hands. Evening, Nang Paul, please you can go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening to the ECN management and our lecturer for today, and my colleagues. My question is having to do with leadership. I want to understand, at what point can people appreciate their leader? Because from all the lectures today, I've come to realize, I don't know, I think one of the motivation of a leader is service. But I want to ask, what's the reward of a leader? Because amidst all the things we have been watching, you rarely see the generality of populace giving credit to a leader, no matter what he does. If it means him spending everything he has, you still find people still not being contented. So as a leader now, the question I want to ask is to so many people that are aspiring to be leaders. Now, I do, from the instances I given, I learned of Peter Obi and other, the article and the Tinubu. I think all of them have one quality in them or the other. And so you have people that are praising them for one thing and criticizing them for another thing, in which you not get anybody generally accepting this is the particular brand of leader I want. So what I want to understand is, for so many people that are aspiring for leader, I want to encourage them is, these are some of the challenges now for young people that are coming up. With what we are seeing, you begin to know that becoming a leader entails so many things and is discouraging so many people, because no matter what you do, if you're emotional, it's going to affect. So I want to get clarification. What should be a motivation for a leader? Thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to say that as a young person or as a leader, you need to understand that you can never please everyone. And once you want to please everyone, you're going to fail, because there's no way that you can do it. But this is why I made mention of building a manifesto, making sure that this manifesto is not built alone. I think I made mention of that during the presentation, that as a leader, you must be able to also put people within a team and empower others, and consensus building. But with the manifesto, it gives you more of a direction. It also tells people that this is what you're going to do. If they don't agree with it, that's fine, but at least they know that you have accomplished so and so of things that you said you were going to do. But if you want to please everyone, you're going to fail. That is something I can tell you. In my first term, in my first year in office, I had that problem, because my position was that I was always going to get people that were not on my side to join me, even after I won, which was more of the opposition, to join me. I realized that it was a futile effort, because one, I was trying to please them. I was pissing off my own supporters and people that had backed me. So I did a 2-year course with the PPSA, which is the Political Parties Strengthening Academy, which is under the National Democratic Institute in Washington. And one of our lecturers is from Algeria. He's called Dr. Nabil Fahik. He has always mentioned that in politics, before elections, you have to divide your support base into 3. That's your core support base. You know these people are not going to move no matter what you do to them or how you govern. These are your bottom barrel supporters. They're diehards. You've got other people in the middle who are maybe party members. Some of them are just sympathizers, but they're swinging, or maybe they're just on the fence. And these are people that would want, to know they're voting for so and so or substance and other things. And you've got another branch of people that would never vote for you no matter what. If you spend more time focusing on the people that would never vote for you, you would lose the people in the middle, who you should have been focused on more in getting to make them diehards. And this is something I think every politician or every leader needs to understand. There'd always be opposition. There'd always be people that would not agree with what you have done. But what you have to do is make sure that you have a clear conscience and you're able to pull through. Secondly, is also that you're always going to have people that are going to put you under pressure to do things for them, because politics in our parts of the world is contractual and it's more based on patronage. People are going to vote for you, and when you get into office, they're going to say that we voted for you, so when you're in office, you can do so and so for us. If you don't do it, they will be like, okay, wait till next election and see what happens. This is where you need to focus on service delivery. Do what you can and don't overstretch yourself. Because once you overstretch yourself financially, there's a high tendency that you're going to steal from public funds to be able to live and survive yourself. And also, once the cycle starts, it becomes a blackmailing future. They're always going to come for more. What you focus on is make sure that you are more of general development is being done and you're delivering to the people generally than trying to please a few party members or a few party supporters. Even if they don't support you, the people whose service delivery has reached and has impacted their lives, they will always come back and support you. And going further, like you said, for me, leadership is more of service. It's more of making sure that you are impacting lives positively. This is where personally I am a huge admirer of Kankwaso in Kano, because I've met friends, I've met people who have said that Kankwaso impacted their lives in certain ways, that he gave them scholarships, he made them who they are. When you go to Lagos too, I've met friends who have said that Tinubu has played a part in their lives in so and so and so way. When you go to, people have said that Atiku has also impacted their lives by giving them scholarships. It's the same way when you go to Anambra, you would meet people who have said that, Peter Obi has also impacted their lives in certain ways by sponsoring their school or making sure that this was done or the economy was in this place. And even Sowore, for example, when you speak to people who were in university with him, they tell you that in 1999, he played this part in student politics and was able to change their lives in certain ways. So for me, leadership is about impacting lives. It is about making decisions that will positively touch the lives of people. And regardless, even if everybody doesn't support you, you can go to sleep knowing that you have changed a life or you have touched a life in a positive way.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, sir. I can see some other hands on. Hello, Innocence. Please go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah, good evening. I have a little issue, a little clarification. Is it possible for a politician to have a clear record in terms of integrity? Well, since I was very much younger up till now, I don't think I have seen a such situation. Because in anything you are doing in Nigeria, for instance, if you ask us, they will tell you that it is still all of them recycling. Any politician who has been in one political elected position or the other must have one or two scandals that will arise either by the opposition or using there must be a scandal that will arrive. Then how is it possible to maintain integrity at this point where every elected position, since I was very much younger up till now, will always have a scandal that will resurface when it's time to resurface? Thank you.
Yes. I just want to know first who's winning in the Ludo game you're playing. But then I'm on a more serious note. I just want to say that yes, it is possible for people to be scandal free. It's difficult, but this is why I think there are social scandals that you might not be able to run away from. Like I said, there'll always be people or decisions that you're gonna make that are not gonna, be popular. The mistakes you're gonna make as a people, you're also gonna have challenge as a person, and also you're also gonna have challenges as a leader, because you're human and this is natural that you're going to have these things. But the integrity that we want to talk about is that making sure that the rule of law prevails, the separation of power as a politician, and that you are not influencing decisions in your favor and being biased, and also financial scandals. Avoid them as much as you can. It is the easiest ways you can ruin yourself as an individual. And this is something that you must be careful of. And like I said earlier, this is why I'm saying that we do not need new ways of we do not need new political parties, but we need new ways of politicking. Regardless of, there's something that we do not talk about a lot. A lot of times people say that politicians are the same. And we tend to put them in the same bag. But then we forget that our leaders are going to come from that bag. So it is up to us to change that, make sure that we're able to build institutions that are strong and are able to keep people in check, or we're going to be in the same situation. And for young people that are capable, people that have the ability, people that have the vision and drive to come up and take the mantle of leadership. If they don't do that, it's going to be the same thing that we're going to face. For example, Britain, Liz Truss has just resigned in a few days ago. But Britain is going to be okay. I said that on Twitter. But unfortunately, if it's the same in Africa, we're going to be leading into a very, or we're going to get into a very chaotic political cycle, because there are no institutions in place to make sure that people are answerable and are accountable for their actions. So unless we're able to build these things, it will be difficult for us to have the best of leaderships, within the continent. But it starts with you to make sure that you're actively taking part in politics and making sure that people with better records are running. This is why I keep saying that the most important places where politics begins, or the most important place where leadership or democratization begins, is the political party, because that is where candidates are being chosen that will go to the national level to vote, to be voted for. So if the candidates coming from the parties are the worst candidates, well, the country is going to have a bad president or a bad leadership. So unless we are taking part in politics and we're coming up with new ways of politicking and we're getting into our political parties, there's nothing that's going to change. We're just going to continue complaining about the crop of leaders we have. But they're not going to leave because they don't have any competition coming through, and they do not mentor young people because they do not want their positions to be threatened. So it's up to us to come up as young people and make sure that we have the clean records, make sure that we do not become like them when we are in positions of power.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that response, sir. Ibrahim Mohammed, please, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Good evening, Isi, and good evening, fellow cohorts. Thank you to the facilitator for this evening session. I have two questions, please. One of the questions is, as a young aspiring leader across all levels of society and development, all walks, what would you advise young people when they find themselves in a situation such that maybe you are in a particular organization, administration, or in politics generally, you find out that the number of young people, just like you said earlier, are very few. And when you go there's a kind of already an established atmosphere of, incompetence, that is being put on the young ones. Even if you have something very good in your brain, you have good initiatives, you can't get them across. And even along the line, when you get across, you begin to work, there's also that kind of atmosphere of you are being ganged up against as the person coming to disrupt certain things, as in certain arrangements, the way things flow. Then secondly, being that we are all aspiring young men and women hoping to get into various maybe offices, administrations, develop our careers individually and across board. Our leaders have practically made it seem like they are infallible. They don't accept mistakes, or rather they choose to hide it. And not all mistakes are visible. For the ones that we see are being put on media and all that, but most of it, in fact, the most crucial ones are not visible, and they refuse to identify and make such mistakes. So how would you advise, or rather, what would you say to a young person when he gets into such positions, what to do and what not to do? Because there's also a risk of repeating the same thing others are doing, which ties to the first question, by which when you come in, there's already something established that they wouldn't want you to disrupt. Thank you.
Yes, my first point is that you're always going to find yourself. There's a high tendency that when you're new in an environment, you're always going to find things that you do not agree with or things that do not go your way. But one thing you'd never want to do is to quit, because once you quit, they win, because that is usually what they want. Especially if you come into an institution and you are seen as a disruptor, they frustrate you to make sure that you never come back. But if you keep pushing, I know it can be difficult, especially if it's, you're working with bosses that are terrible. It can be very difficult because a hostile working environment really affects your productivity as an individual. So these are all things that you have to look at. But secondly, make sure that you're always also doing the little change you can in your own little way. It is going to be noticed by usually the overalls. These are things that I would always tell people, that yes, the environment might not be conducive, but do the things that you want to do, and see if you're going to have a very stiff resistance. Also, make sure that you are able to build very strong relationships and allies with people in the working space. Whereas you might not agree with them, but have a very cordial relationship with them, because sometimes not every battle is worth fighting. Sometimes there are diplomatic means to solving issues. Unfortunately, in our generation, we are very, very, very hot-headed. We rather take the aggressive path than more of taking the diplomatic part. I like to tell people that sometimes diplomacy is the first point that we need to look at. If that doesn't work, we can look at other avenues. That's for the first question. The second question, I didn't get that. Can you please repeat it?
Yes, the second question I said earlier was in the political space, in governance and administration, and when young people try to get into certain positions, you find out that the previous leaders in set positions, they have made themselves infallible. They've made themselves immune to mistakes, immune to corrections and all that, either being it visible to the entire public or just within the offices. So when young people come in trying to make changes, I was saying, what would be your advice to young people? Because there are some places that some things are set not to be changed, and the moment you try to change them, you become a victim of some sort. So that it ties up to the yes. So it's about, as we are going into various positions, or we aspire to go to rather, what would be your advice? Because I know that most of our leaders, nobody has come out to say, okay, yes, we made a mistake here, we need to go back and take a U-turn and take another direction, all these type of things. So that's basically what the question is about.
Yes, one thing I can definitely tell you is that power is never handed, and the older generation will never hand over power to us until we are ready to take it up. This is a reality, and this is something that we're faced with as a generation. The other thing is also that as young people in institutions and political parties, we must be able to support each other. Unfortunately, in our setting, young people are more focused on tearing each other apart. And this has affected a lot of work that could have been done to support and maintain our strength. Thirdly, make yourself very valuable within the political sphere. Once you're able to have a constituency of your own, be it at the local level, be it at the state level or wherever, once you have a constituency, people are very, especially in political settings, people are very careful of how they deal with you. And this is something that I have learned and I have been able to work through. I think it's something that every young politician must also be able to learn. But also, it's important that you also pick a mentor for yourself. Make sure that you also have someone that, even if they might have their flaws as leaders, but make sure that you find a mentor that you can work with. For me, I keep saying that godfatherism is not bad, but unfortunately, the way that we have made it work is what has become terrible. For example, when you talk about the impositions of candidates, you talk about how money is flaunted around. These are things that have affected the whole idea of godfatherism. But there's nothing wrong in having an older politician as a mentor to help you get through things. Lastly, and I think which is most important in my opinion, is building very strong political institutions, making sure that within the political party there are checks and balances. For example, at conventions, making sure that you have term limits, making sure that you have affirmative actions and quota systems, making sure that the financial deliberations of the party and books are open to all to see, making sure that there are audits, making sure that the primaries are not heavily induced. For example, in the Gambia, in our electoral act, we have a law that says that during campaigning season, nobody can give cash or good donations in cash or kind, because once you do it, then you are inducing voters. Political parties need to also have these in their manifestos and also in their constitutions. It will help make sure that at least there's a playing because I cannot say smooth playing field or level playing field, because wherever power is involved, there's no level playing field. This is why I said that we cannot sit and wait for power to be handed to us. We have to get up and also show that we are ready to hand to take care of power. Definitely. Is that all? No more questions?
Okay, I think Lisa has gone off. Maureen, are you there? Okay, since Lisa,
Yeah,
Maureen.
sorry, my network went off and I couldn't unmute. I didn't have the co-host function. Okay, I think we still have 2 hands up. Thank you, Peace. Sharon, you can go ahead and ask your question, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for this session. I wanted to ask, you had mentioned earlier that when you got into office, you tried to collaborate with people that were previously your competitors and it was difficult. So my question is around collaboration with people you don't fully trust. You don't trust their motives, but you want to work with them. You feel they have something to offer. How do you navigate that space, especially as someone who has been in office and experienced this firsthand? Thank you.
Yes, first of all, we must be able to differentiate politics and governance, like I said in the presentation. In politics is different, but in governance is different, because governance is more of delivering services and administration or representation, whereas in politics is more of conversing for votes and trying to get people to vote for you. If you know people have qualities and talents that you would need to to be successful, you don't need to work with them on a personal level, but keeping an official and and a mutual relationship with them, which is very cordial, is very important. When I said that I tried to work with people who didn't support me earlier, it wasn't all unsuccessful. I had some success in it because it built a respect and a good relationship. But what I was mainly focused on was trying to get their support, because these are people more of at the grassroots who, per se, were not really my supporters or my party supporters. So you will realize that in doing so, it is different from when it's at administrative level, because at administrative level, you do not work with everybody that supports you, or you do not work with only people that support you, because you have to deliver services, and people have goods and services all over, regardless of who voted for you or who didn't. But this is where the politicking comes into the administration and service delivery, that in itself is campaigning on its own. For example, today, Professor Zulum he is admired globally for what he has done. For example, today you talk to people in the Federal Capital Territory, they tell you that during El Rufai's time in Abuja, as he was able to transform Abuja, for example. So these are ways where you can campaign by making sure that you are delivering services, and people will accept or acknowledge that you are good in service delivery. In turn, it will make them even want to, because nobody wants to be on the losing side, or people want good things for themselves. So once they see that you are delivering on most of your promises, it is going to be a way of pulling them to really join your wagon. But it's always important to also create a balance and realize that there's a difference between politicking and governance. And I think this is the biggest mistake that we always do in Africa, is that we try to prosecute people who didn't support us once we get into office, or always create a barrier between us and them. And it becomes more of a challenge of us and them, which you do not want, because it becomes chaotic and very difficult for you to govern people. Always build allies, make sure that you have a cordial and a smooth relationship with people, and make sure that you are tapping into talents all over. This, I'm sure, would definitely pay dividend and yield results.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. I think we have the last hand here. Chukwuka, please, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to ask, you spoke earlier about leaders trying to hold on to power for a very long time and not wanting to leave office or relinquish power to someone else to take over. We have a problem of succession issue. So I wanted to use Africa as a case in point here, where we have a lot of supposed, let me put in quotes, sit-tight leaders, people who tend to be in office for years and decades and not wanting to leave office. And in such places where these things happen, we have an older generation that appears to be sympathetic towards them, because maybe when those people came to power, there was a struggle that was involved, and these older generations still believe in those people. So I want to ask, as a younger generation, how do the young people begin to address this thing or try to bring about change without bringing about a crisis? Like we can see Uganda, for example, how everything is almost turning to a battleground if they are not so careful. So as the younger generation, asking that the younger generation, how do they begin to address these kind of issues without causing a crisis?
Yes, I think it's a great question. In fact, I think that is the problem that we're facing today. A lot of, well, now it's changing because we're having new leaders within the continent. But you talk about countries like Equatorial Guinea, you talk about Uganda, there are still people that have been in power for over 30, almost close to 42 years. And what this shows is just that they are, like you mentioned, sit-tight leaders. But I think this is where institutionalization comes in place, and where we are able to separate the individual from the institution. And most political parties we have in Africa today are personalized around the leader of the party, and it becomes very difficult for people not to be emotional when that individual is concerned. And we've also had cultural and religious problems that have really affected us, For example, in my country, for example, Gambia, where Jammeh stayed for over 22 years in power, religious men were going around saying that once you go against the government, you are going against God's will because God put them there, for example. You also have cultures that say that they do not oppose the leaders because leaders are more of representatives of God, on land. You have other places where the government tries to disenfranchise the people as much as they can so that they are able to keep power in check. You have where draconian laws are made to, to inflict fear on the people. So these are all examples of how, the state has, because we have to acknowledge and admit that the state has all apparatus of torture. The state has all powers that is there, even though we as people give them the power. The only way we can fight that without causing a crisis, because I was going to say there are two ways, but you were very specific to say that without causing a crisis, is making sure that we are very involved in the electoral processes of our countries. Also, sensitization and educating each other to make sure that we are able to come together and vote on blocks. Because, for example, today, people look at their interests and vote based on block votes. For example, you go to countries where you have minorities. The minority vote is very important for certain politicians because that might be the tilling or the pointing, a changing dynamic. Imagine a country like Nigeria where all young people are voting in a block. When we say all, it's definitely understandable that not everybody's going to be on the same page. But let's say majority of young people are voting based on something that is in their best interest. Let's say to have younger leaders. These are things that are doable, and I've seen it happen in Lesotho not long ago. We have seen what happened there with the change of the prime minister and having younger guys come in power. In Kenya too, with William Ruto's party, even though he's also part of the older guys. But we have seen how younger mayors have come in place. We've seen how younger members of parliament have come in place. What this is showing is that once young people are able to come together, there's so much that can be achieved. But I need to talk about the crisis part too a little bit, because most of the time when leaders are tight-seated in these seats, it leads to crisis. We've seen what happened during the Arab Spring. We've seen what happened with revolutions in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Guinea and other places. When power resides with even in the Gambia, for example, with our political impasse, when power resides with the people, sometimes with the leader, sometimes the military gets involved, and it's not even in the best interest of the opposition. In Guinea today, yes, Alpha Condé is no more president, but the main opposition leader, Cellou Dalein Diallo, is in exile in the US. And so, we do not want military intervention. So the only way we can work on making sure that we're able to change these things is that internally within parties, we have laws that are strong. Nationally, we push legislations that are going to guard the safety of our democracies. Thirdly, we make sure that the electoral processes are free and fair, making sure that technology is used, or making sure that we're counting on the spot. Fourthly, we make sure that we vote. It is one thing to talk about issues, but it's another thing to play a part in making sure you solve those issues. And voting for me solves most electoral process issues that we have. But unfortunately, a lot of young people do not vote, even though we complain a lot.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. You've shed light on a lot of things regarding leadership, especially pertaining to the youth. Thank you so much for your time. I can't see anybody's hand up, and I don't think there are any questions in the chat box. But someone is asking if they could get your email and maybe your social media handles for those who want to further engage with you. Okay.
Yes, so I just shared my email and my Twitter.
Box.
Yes, because my Facebook is already at 5,000 friends, and my page is not very active. So just maybe on Twitter is a bit more direct and more personal. So we can continue with that, definitely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a pleasure having you this evening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the knowledge shared. Thank you so much. Yeah. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ola
All right,
Tokunbo, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Good evening, everybody. I hope we had a good class engagement. Welcome to our very first. Senate.
Sorry, please give me a second. Okay.
Right.
Sir, you can leave. I think they want to just carry on
Okay,
other
all right, no
activities.
problem.
Yeah, you're free to
No
leave, sir.
problem.
Thank you so much. Please go ahead, Ola Tokunbo.
All right, thank you once again. I want to welcome us to the very first maiden edition of our Senate meeting. I will be the one anchoring this sitting for this evening. Once again, I am Senator Ola Tokunbo Timenu for the Ninth Cohort. So quickly on the agenda, I'll just post the agenda on the chat page for us to quickly know what we'll be doing tonight. It's centering on a setting up of the Ninth Cohort government that will be anchored and executed by the executive arm of the team. That is the presidency, and we are looking at possible nominees for government post for the Senate government. For the executive government for the Ninth Cohort. That will be definitely be championed by the president himself. So following all due protocols, just to recognize everybody here, we want to recognize the Electoral College, in total, for giving us this platform and this opportunity to meet all the electoral, the ECN admins, the ECN leaders. I want to say thank you for all your support. And, for all those who are party chairmen that are here, all those that have vied for one post or the other before now in all our elections, all party members, ladies and gentlemen. So basically, moving to the second part of the item, this is just to welcome us to today's sitting. The Senate will be comprising of myself and all the Senate candidates that vied for the senatorship, post during our last election. In person of, I'll just quickly read out their names: Sharon Takun, Kunle Damola Bolos, Joshua, Stephen Oluwaseun, Anas Bello, Eniola, and my humble self. This will be the team that will be, anchoring the Senate as a seat and as a body, which is the legislative arm of the government. And tonight, on the third agenda, I will be yielding the floor to the president, Mr. President, in person of Mr. Mr. Oluwadare now, to please present his list to the House. So over to you, Mr. President. You can unmute yourself. Mr. President, are you there?
All right. Good evening.
All right.
Okay.
Good evening. Welcome, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you once again for the vote. I really want to appreciate everybody for the privilege given to me to serve as the president for Electoral College. So in accordance with the Constitution, 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 147, subsection 1 and 2, which requires me to send the list of the ministerial nominee to the Senate for screening and confirmation, I have forwarded the list to the distinguished Senator Olu Tokunbo, who is the person anchoring the program for the nomination and confirmation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Let me quickly make Madam Maureen one of our hosts tonight. I'm trying to look for her name here. Madam, can you raise your hand so that I can? Okay. Yes. So make a co-host. All right. So okay, I've done that now, and moving on to the next line of item is to share with us the list of the ministerial nominees that we got from Mr. President. I don't know whether we can all see this. So this is the way we're going to run it. We'll just go to the post of the to the role, and we'll mention the name of the person. What I need us tonight to all do is use the icon on our voting part, just to raise our hands there. If we're okay with the person, we raise our hands. If we're not okay, we don't raise our hands, and we'll just move on. Also, for us to by the time we mention the person's name, the person should just indicate by raising his or her hand to let us know that they are with us tonight in this Senate sitting, so that we can recognize them before people start to raise their hands alongside their person. So the very first person we're going to call out now immediately will be the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development nominee candidates in person of Mr. Abdul Majid Yusuf. Are you in the house? Please raise up your hand. Okay, so thank you for raising your hand. Please, can the house please raise their hands to ratify him for this role? We can all raise our hands if we're in support. We have 47 persons in the house. If we get up to 20, it's okay. 18 now, 19, 20. I think the house have it, the years have it. Thank you very much. We can all drop our hands now. I'll quickly move on to the next person, Minister of State, Agriculture and Rural Development, in person of Aku Neho Choma Oyechi. Please, can you confirm that you are in the house tonight? Choma, please raise up your hands. Let's confirm that you are in the house. Okay, I can't see our hands raised up. We'll move on. We are not ratifying our position yet. Third person will be Minister of Communication and Information, Agu Shokaya Esther. Please, is Esther in the house tonight? Raise up your hands, please. Can't see Esther's hands raised up. We move on. Fourthly, Minister of State Communication and Information, Shakiruddin Olamilekon Olofin. Please, can you raise up your hand? All right. Olofin is in the house. So can we quickly, all members of the house, can we raise up our hands in ratifying his vote? If we can get up to 20 hands raised up, then we pass it. 13 people, 14, 16, yeah, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. The house passed him. Sharidin Olamilekon Olofin has been passed. Thank you. We'll move on. Please, can we all drop our hands? Fifth person will be Minister of Culture and Tourism, Nimani Emmanuel Wazi. Please, if you're in the house tonight, raise up your hand. We need to be fast with this. All right, I can see his hands raised up. Please, can we all vote for this person if we are ratifying him? We need 20 votes to come in. Beautiful. We have the 20 votes. Wazi has been passed. Thank you very much. Please, we move on. Minister of Defense, Bill Kisu Daudu Damisa. Please, can you raise up your hands to show that you are in the house tonight? Bilkisu Daudu Damisa. I can't see your hands raised up. All right, moving on. We move to the seventh person, Minister of Digital Economy Innovation.
Hello, Mr. Honorable, Right Honorable. Miss Kisu is in the house. Can you repeat the name? She's in the house.
All right, number 6, Minister of Defense, Bilkisu Daudu Damisa. I'm seeing someone else's name. That's why I didn't recognize it. Bilkisu Daudu Damisa, can you raise up your hands, please?
Okay, I think she just left. She was in when you mentioned that. You can move on now.
Okay, thank you very much. I move on. Minister of Digital Economy Innovation, Evie Ewude. Are you in the house? Please raise up your hands. Evie is raising up her hands. Thank you very much. We recognize you. Please, can the house vote? We need 20 votes to come in. All right, we have the 20 votes and above. Thank you very much. She has been passed. We move on. Minister State Digital Economy and Innovation, Godwin Joe Baba. Are you in the house tonight? Please raise up your hands. We can all drop our hands. Godwin Joe Baba. Godwin John Baba. Can you raise up your hands, please? All right, we can see. We'll get back to those that we have called before that we're just seeing their hands raised. Let's quickly go back to Minister of State Agriculture and Rural Development, Akuneo Choma Onyechi. I see her hands raised up just now. Choma, can you raise up your hands, please? All right, we have Choma here.
Choma is not here. This Choma is a different Choma.
Oh, okay. All right, I apologize for that. Moving on, we can see John Baba also. So number 9, Minister of Education, Adebanjo Babatunde A. Yes, his hand is raised up. Can we quickly have a vote? Can we cast our votes for him? We need 20 votes to come in. Thank you. We have over 20 votes. So we are passing you, Minister of Education. Thank you very much, Adebanjo Babatunde. Moving on, Minister of State Education, Umar Salma Adeyemi. We can all drop our hands now. Umar Salma Adeyemi, can you raise up your hand, please? Umar Salma Adeyemi. Not in the house. All right, moving on. Minister of Environment, Olowu Simon Ajinui. Are you in the house? Raise up your hand. Okay, I can see his hand. Recognized. Can we all vote, please? We need 20 votes to come in. $17 votes in, 18. 19, 20. All right. Thank you very much. We have the votes in. We are passing him. Olowu Simon Ajinui. Congratulations. Moving on, can we all drop our hands now? Minister of FCT, in person of Paul Okoye. Paul Okoye, are you in the house? Please raise up your hands. All right, I can recognize you. Please, can we cast our vote now? Thank you very much. We have it. Paul Okoye has been passed. Moving on, 13, Minister of Trade, Investment, Finance, and National Planning. This is a bounty bouquet portfolio. Impressing of Idris Kehinde Atonda. Please, if you are in the house, raise up your hand. Let's recognize you. Yes, you are recognized. Please, can we cast our votes? Thank you. We have 20 votes in and above. We have, moving on, you have been passed. 14 will be Minister of State, Trade, Investment, Finance, and National Planning, Patricia Egozi. Are you in the house, please? Raise up your hand. Patricia Egozi. Yes, you are recognized. I can see you. Can we please cast our votes, members of the House? Seventeen votes in. We need 20 and above. Yeah, the House have it. Thank you. You've been passed. Patricia Egozi, Minister of State. Moving on, number 15 nominee, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Hadiza Kemi Mohammed. Please drop your hand. Let Hadiza Kemi Mohammed raise up her hands so that we can recognize her. Hadiza, you are recognized. Can we have the votes coming? Thank you very much. You've been passed. You are welcome on to the team. Moving on, 16, Minister of Health, Shamsia Aliyu. We can all drop our votes. Shamsia Aliyu, please raise up your hand. Let us all drop our hands, please. Shamsia Aliyu, please raise up your hand. I can't see the person. Moving on, 16. Okay, Shamsia Aliyu has raised up her hand. Welcome, you're recognized. Can we have the votes coming, please? We need 20 votes to come in.
Mr. Speaker, sorry to interrupt you.
All right.
Okay, I think there's a point of order from Ifyok in the chat box. He wants to say something.
Point of order, can I make a comment? I'm constitutionally allowed to make a comment. All right, can I take this comment after we've done Shamsia Aliyu, since that is already on?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. After this, all right. 17 votes coming, have come in already. We need 20 to pass. Thank you very much. Shamsia, Minister of Health has been passed. Thank you very much. We open the floor to the person raising the point of order. You have the floor.
Please raise your hand.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening, Mr. Senate President. Good evening, distinguished senators. Good evening, everybody present for this exercise going on. I just want to just say something. Mr. Senate President, I salute the work you are doing. But I see the list on the shared screen, the list of potential ministers. I just wanted to say that when we sign into class in this 9th cohort, we sign in with our political parties and our locations. I want to believe that Mr. President sent in a list that reflects our national character and our diversity. I can see it in the names. But I wanted to suggest that the list, each minister designates should have had his political party and maybe probably his location in Nigeria. Maybe that could reflect, would like to reflected the broadness or the broadness or the diversity of the Nigerian country in what we're trying to practice right now. I just wanted to say maybe our parties and our locations would have been highlighted next to the delegates. Thank you, sir. I don't know if I'm on.
Right. Your point is highly noted. We are sorry that was not reflected in this list, but that was highly considered for all the nominations that came in. The nomination list actually came in from all the parties through their leaders, through the chairman of parties. And what was done was to have nominees give their full name, their qualification, their location, which is the state that they are in, and what they are into, to help Mr. President and his, special advisors and people working with him to fix them into portfolios that we are seeing tonight. So that was highly considered, put into consideration before this final list was drawn up. So thank you for
thank you, sir.
Bringing that up and for that clarity. Yeah. All right. So we stopped at.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Speaker. Sorry to cut you short.
I'm actually Mr.
Okay.
President, not Mr. Speaker.
President. Mr. President.
Mr. President, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, Chioma and Kisu are in the house now. Okay, I wanted to point out the list has already been posted on the Telegram group. I think Mr. President will update the list with the effects soon, and it will be shared for those that have been passed on the Telegram group, so everybody will see it soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Maureen. We appreciate the support. So moving on back to the list of nominees. We've just passed number 16, Minister of Health, Shamsia Aliyu. Next is 17, Minister of State Health, Oyinkansola Odidi. Please raise up your hands. Let's recognize you if you're in the house before we cast our votes tonight. Minister of State Health, Oyinkansola Odidi. I'm seeing Patricia Egozi. Okay, please, we've passed you. We'll come back to you later. Okay, moving on. Minister of State for Health is not around. Let's go back to some of the names that we've passed initially. Patricia Egozi, I'm looking for your portfolio. All right, number 14, Minister of State, Trade, Investment, Finance, National Planning, Patricia Egozi. Your hand has been recognized. Can the House please cast our votes? Let's. Sorry, I lost the connection. Are you still there?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, please let me go back to the screen. I actually lost connection. Apologies. Okay, so please, we're going to take number 14 again. Minister of State, Trade, Investment, Finance, National Planning. I didn't get the list when I counted it. So Patricia Egozi, can you please raise up your hand once again? All right, 13, 14, 12, 13, 15, now 16, 18, 19, 20. Okay, we have the votes coming. Thank you very much. Patricia Egozi has been passed. Moving on, we called earlier number 17, Minister of State Health, Oyinkansola Odidi. Once again, please, can we all drop our hands? Oyinkansola, can you raise up your hand and let us be sure that you're in the house? Let's drop our hands, please. Oyinkansola Odidi. Not available. Moving on. Number 18, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, Sawa Meshach Bulus. Please, can you raise up your hand for us? Meshach, I can see your hands raised up. You are recognized. Please come. The House cast their votes. Let's have the votes come in. We need 20 and above. $17 and counting, 18, 19, 20. We have the votes coming. Thank you very much. Shawa Meshach Bulus has been passed. Please, can we all drop our hands? Moving on, Minister of State, Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, Shedrack Danladi. Please, can you raise up your hands for recognition? I can see Danladi's hands raised up. Thank you very much. Can we please cast our votes, members of the House? Court, Night Courts, ECN. 15 votes is coming already. 18. 19. 20. We have the votes coming. Thank you very much. Minister of State, Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management has been passed. Congrats, Shadrach Danladi. Moving on, Minister of Justice, Roadshak Mika Piwumna. If you're in the house, please raise up your hands. Minister of Justice, Roadshak Mika Piwumna. Can you raise up your hands, please? All right, not available. We move on. Minister of Labor and Productivity, the president himself is taking over the Minister of Labor in order to, connect with the labor unions and, make sure the country is productive. Mr. President, Mr. James Olorundare, please, can you raise up your hand? All right, we can see you, Mr. President. Can we please quickly cast our vote for him if we want him to, occupy that post alongside the presidency? 17 votes coming already, 18. 20, we have the votes coming. Congratulations, Mr. President. Also, Minister of Labor, doubling as Minister of Labor and Productivity. Moving on, Minister of State, Labor and Productivity, Ayola Olatunji Abraham. Are you in the house? Please raise up your hands. Can we all drop our hands, please? Ayola Olatunji Abraham. All right, no, not him. I can't see him here. Moving on, Minister of Niger Delta, in person of Achapu Ifeoma Esther. Please, if you're in the house, please raise up your hands. Achapu Ifeoma Esther. No, we also move on. Minister of State, Niger Delta Affairs, Egbe Zomta Maria Chinozo. Please, if you're in the house, raise up your hands. No, we move on. Minister of Petroleum Resources, Solid Minerals and Mines, in person of Consul Elia. If you're in the house, please raise up your hands. I can recognize you, Mr. Elia. You're welcome. Please, can the house vote? We need 20 votes to come in. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have the votes coming. Congratulations, Minister of Petroleum. We wish you all the best in the portfolio. Moving on, 26, Minister of State, Petroleum Resources, Bamai Beatrice. If you're in the house, please, can we drop our hands? Bamai Beatrice, can you raise up your hands for recognition? Yes, I can see you. Thank you. Please, can we cast our votes for Minister of State, Petroleum Resources, Solid Minerals and Mines? 17, 18, 19 votes. We need one more. That's dropped to 18, 17. It's dropping again. We need 20. We have the 20. Thank you. You have been passed. Moving on, please, can we all drop our hands? 27, Minister of Power and Housing, Ibrahim Mohammed Kulta. If you're in the house, Ibrahim Mohammed, you are recognized. Please, can we quickly cast our votes? Let's save time. Quickly, we need 20 to come in. Thank you. We have the votes coming. Thank you. Congratulations, Minister of Power, Housing, Ibrahim Mohammed Kuta. Moving on, Minister of State, Power and Housing also, Abiola Adeyanju Alagbe. Please, if you're in the house, raise up your hands. Can we drop our hands for Abiola Adeyanju Alagbe? Let's drop our hands, please. Abiola Adeyanju Alagbe. Nothing. Okay, we move on. Minister of Political Engagement, Community Development, in person of Aziz Habib Wale. You are recognized. We see your hands raised up. Thank you.
Sorry, Sorry, Mr. President.
Yes.
Okay, the last nominee you mentioned, the person is on the page, and that's Nyonju. You can read Nyonju. That's what the person saved her name with, Nyonju. So, and secondly, Mr. President, can you please read the chat box? Some people are dropping some important comments. Thank you very much.
I will quickly sit that to Sharon Takim for me. Well, by the time I'm doing, what's it called now? When you are sharing, you don't see the chat box easily. So in order to stay concentrated on the list, I will sit the power to read the chat box to Senator Sharon Takim on my behalf. And if there's need for us to quickly take anything, she will raise it as a point of order or as an information to the House. So highly noted. Thank you very much. Okay, she's on it now. We'll quickly take we'll quickly do the Aziz Abib Wali. I've recognized him already. Then we'll come back to Nyonju. So please, Minister of Political Engagement, Community Development, you're recognized. Can we quickly cast our votes for the person? Thank you. We need 20 votes to come in for our 29th nominee. We have 18 votes already. We need 20 to come in. Let's come back to 17, 18, 20. All right. Thank you very much. The House have it. Minister of Political Engagement, Community and Development have been passed. And then we go back to Minister of State Power and Housing. Please, can we all drop our hands? Abiola Adeyanju Alagbe. She said her name is written as Nyonju. Please, can you quickly raise up your hands to be recognized? Nyonju, you are recognized. Please, can we quickly cast our votes? Nyonju is in the House. 18, 19, 20. We have the House have it. You are passed for Minister, State, Power and Housing. And lastly, for the list, before we go back to those that we've omitted initially, Minister, State, Political Engagement, Community Development, Odumosu Alabi Yetunde. You are highly recognized. I can see your hands up already. Please, can we cast our votes for Odumosu Alabi Kalabarada Yetunde? Thank you. 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20. Thank you. Odumosu Alaba Yetunde has been passed. Please, can we all quickly drop our hands? Then we'll quickly go back to Venture. We have anybody in the House whose name is here that has been called, that is now in. If you are in the House and you are in, Patricia Egoze. I think we've mentioned your name earlier. You have been passed. Yeah, Minister of State, you've been passed. So drop your hands, please. Any person on the list that is in the House can quickly raise up your hands and let's recognize you. Maybe by the time we are doing that, let me allow Sharon to, if you have anything for the House, Sharon.
Sorry.
Yeah, Madam Maureen, you have the floor.
Please, can you just mention the names that have not been passed? If they are there, they will raise up their hands. Please.
All right. Minister State Agriculture, Chairman has not been passed. Minister Communication, Agu Shoke.
Sorry, sir. Mention the full names so they know themselves. They will just raise up their hands.
All right. Choma is here. That's Minister State Agriculture Rural Development. Number 2. Can we please quickly cast our vote for her? We need 20 votes to come in for Choma. Thank you. 13, 14, 15 now, 18, 19. We need one more. 20. All right. Thank you. The House has ratified that. She has been passed. Congratulations, Minister of State, Agriculture and Rural Development. Is Agu Shokoya Esther in the House now? Please, can we all drop our hands? Can we all drop our hands, please? Okay, Shokoya is on here. Sharon Takim, please, do you have anything from the chat box for the House? Before I again call some names.
Mr. Speaker, Bilkisu's hand is raised. She
I know.
was mentioned.
Yes, I know. I'm just giving the floor to Sharon to confirm whether there's anything in the chat room first.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Sharon, do you have anything for us? Okay, moving on. Bilikisu, let me quickly, all right, number 6, Minister of Defense, Bilikisu Dauda Damisi, your hands has been raised. You are recognized. Can we quickly cast our vote for Minister of Defense? We need 20 votes to come in for him. He's the one to ensure security of lives and property nationwide for the cohorts is guaranteed. Thank you, congratulations. We have 20 votes coming already for him. Can we all drop our hands? Minister of Defense has been passed. Minister of State, Digital Economy and Innovation, Godwin, John, Baba, are you in the house now? Can we all drop our hands, please? John is not in. Shedrack, Danladi, wait, I'm not too sure whether you are passed. Are you in the house now?
Mr. President, Faith Azaki is saying he has a comment to make. So he wants to be unmuted.
Okay. Can Madam Maureen help unmute him or her? Except I stop sharing. That's where I can unmute the person. I'm sure the person can the person raise his hand or her hand, please? Okay, Faith, yes. Faith asked to be unmuted. Unmuted. Faith, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. So I just have an observation. I don't think, okay, I'm just asking, is there a reason why we are skipping those that are not online? Like those that are not present in the sitting?
Yes, we need to vote for them. We need to ratify them. We can't just call someone's name and they are not voted for and they'll be occupying the portfolio, you know, on to work with the president. That's the work of the legislature.
Is there a reason why they need to be in the meeting for them to be voted for?
Is there a reason? Yes, we want to be sure that they will be committed, and to show commitment is to show up for the meeting, to show up for this sitting.
I noticed like some were in the meeting earlier on and left because I saw some names here, like Udidi was here earlier on. I saw the person. So my question is—
good observation. For them leaving, they might have good reasons. We're not just passing them now because they are not part of this sitting. There will be other sittings that will be held. If they are available at that point in time, then we can, rectify their post.
So the reason I'm asking, Mr. President, is that I thought this sitting was going to go in a different direction. What do I mean? Okay, if we call the people, if they are present, they present themselves, like maybe a little about them or the portfolio, then we vote on whether because most people here, I believe, don't know the people.
We considered that initially, but because we needed to manage time, that's why we are going this route. So we'll have actually given them time to, read out their, their CV and tell us what they are bringing as a value to the offices. Okay, but I want to believe strongly that I'm working with a very dynamic and very, purposeful driven Mr. President, who has actually done that groundwork before bringing these names to the House for Senate to ratify. So your concern is highly noted, highly recognized.
That's why I'm noting that they don't need to be online at this moment for them to be ratified. That's my observation.
That observation is taken, but it's not, accepted on the floor. Thank you very much.
Can we vote on it?
I didn't hear you.
I said, can we vote on it or it's an executive decision?
It's a decision we've taken already on this floor. It's not, to many times it's not accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Faith. All right. In order to save time, we've ratified names already. Mr. President, Mr. James Olorundare will be updating that on the Telegram list. Just as earlier also mentioned, we need their location, their party to be added to their names so that we know who and where they are represented. And to the next thing on the agenda will be the screening has been done for both of times by a Senate member. So I would like Sharon Takem to just have the floor now to just help us thank everybody that coming for this meeting today. Thank you. Sharon Takem, please help us take the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out today. Thank you for making this process as speedy as possible. Thank you to all the party chairmen that gave their members forward for consideration and for appointments. We're grateful that we have this opportunity to work together, and hopefully we'll be able to confirm the rest of the candidates and move on to making ECN 9th cohort better. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Senate Member Sharon Takem. Highly appreciated. Closing remark by Madam Lisa. I don't know whether she's still with us. If she's not with us, then we allow Madam Maureen to just do a closing remarks on behalf of ACN. If Madam Lisa is not there, I'll just ask Madam Maureen to do a closing remark.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending this first sitting of the 9th cohort. I'm highly impressed at the coordination and all that. I want to rectify some things. Please note, nobody on the list, I think they've done the underground work. Mr. President has done his underground work and the screening has been done. It was an open nomination from all parties. So Mr. President gave all parties liberty to send in their names for this nomination. So nobody should feel like they were sidelined. No party was sidelined. I think all party chairmen were reached out to send in their list. And also, the voting today was just to verify that they are available, like Mr. Speaker has said, and to note their commitment. For those that have not been verified, have not been voted for, I think they will do that later. But for now, these are the people that have been available. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and do enjoy the rest of your evening. And I hope we've had a lot of fun for this 9th cohort. I hope the Electoral College has made an impact and made a difference. Looking forward to making better things and greater things for Nigeria. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Madam Maureen. Thank you once again, everybody. We are so grateful on behalf of the 9th cohort, ECN, ED, and all our leaders in the House for making our time to have this first sitting of the Senate. On behalf of the Senate members, I want to say thank you for joining us. I would like to move a motion to adjourn this meeting to another date that will be approved by ACN and all party leaders, the presidency and the Senate for us to meet again. So I move a motion forward that this meeting be adjourned. I need a seconder. Okay, Faith is seconded. I don't know whether you are seconded or you want to ask a question. So I will mute you. Hello, Faith.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
All right.
I second the motion. So before you adjourn it, can you please tell us how many ministers we confirmed today?
All right. Roughly, I don't have all the. Let me just quickly go through to their list now.
No problem. We can just share that information in the.
Let's share the information
Telegram group.
on the Telegram group. Yes.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. So thank you. Have a lovely evening. Bye for now.